What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Four Tires and Fuel. I am your co-host, Steven Cherrick. I am the rear tire changer on the 38 truck for Lane Riggs and Front Row Motorsports. And this weekend, I doing one of the two Jordan Anderson cars, either the 87 or the 32. I'm not sure which one yet. I'll find out this week, and I'll let you guys know.
And I'm John McGee, front tire changer on the 41 truck with Nice Motorsports and Bailey Curry, and the 35 Xfinity car for Joe Gase Motorsports. Yeah, here we are. We're back together again. We did one last week too, so we've been pretty good, huh?
Yeah. I didn't know if I know you said you were feeling a little under the weather, so I didn't know if you were going to be able to make it tonight. Are you feeling any better now?
Yeah, I powered through. Yeah, I've been doing all right. Yeah, I've been doing fine. Just yesterday, I think after just doing both the Xfinity and Cup race and working a bunch last week and then getting in late and all sorts of stuff, I didn't feel very good yesterday. But went to work today and got through it and feeling all right. So
Yeah, that's what my wife asked me last night when I let her know that you weren't feeling that good. She's like, "Oh, I wonder why Johnny's getting sick." I said, "Maybe it's because all the dang traveling he's doing. That man's going everywhere."
I know it's not going to get any better this week. I thought I was just going to be a Saturday in and out flight on Victory, but I got a call today that Venturini Motorsports, they're down a guy on their road crew for doing tires, so they need me to come up a day early and road crew for them and pit on Friday. I'm actually leaving Thursday night to get up there, flying on Champion to get up there, but be there Friday, all day Friday road crew, and then Friday gonna pit and the ARCA race, and then on Saturday gonna do the Xfinity race. So it
Well, at
does.
least it's not a double header. I mean, it's better than like you go up there Saturday to do the ARCA race at like 10 a.m. and then got to do the Xfinity race afterwards.
Yeah, that's how it was at Milwaukee. We
Yeah.
landed at 11:30 Central Time a.m. and I got a text, "Hey, make it to you can make it to the track. The ARCA race starts at noon. I need a changer." So I was like, "All right." Like an hour in between that and the truck race, so that was great. But yeah, made it happen.
What car are you doing for the ARCA race?
55 car. Jake Finch is the driver for that. To be honest with you, I don't know a ton about him. I think he's won once this year in the ARCA series, but yeah, I mean, seems like it's a pretty stacked ARCA field. I mean, you have Zilich driving and William
Yep.
Sawalis. Like, both of those guys are going to be really good. Like, Connor Zilich could very easily win the Xfinity race on Saturday, let alone the ARCA race. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
looking.
mean, as long as he knows where turn one is,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
because he forgot where it was at Coda.
yes, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. Honestly, I think the Xfinity field is going to be pretty stacked with the road course ringers. Like you have SVG driving, you have Connor Zilich, you have Sheldon Creed and Jesse Love, and those guys are pretty stout at road courses too.
Is AJ Allmendinger driving?
Ross Chastain is driving too in the Xfinity series.
Yeah,
Uh,
so is AJ Allmendinger. He's in the
yeah,
16.
and Eric Almirola too.
Oh man.
And there's a couple of Trans Am guys like Austin Green in the 32, and then our driver in the 35 also drives in the Trans Am series. So there's a
How do
lot
you
of
pronounce his last name?
your guess is as good as mine.
Thomas Anun Annunziata? That sounds
Annunziata.
about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah, he did good at Sonoma in his first ever Xfinity race earlier this year. So who knows? It's a really, really, really talented field this week in the Xfinity series. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how everything shakes out.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, I think the Xfinity race is gonna be like the best race of the whole weekend. Even with the new weird chicane thing they got going on the for the bus stop.
Yeah, I don't. What did they do to it? They like raised the
I
curve.
think they like took the curbs up and like extended the wall or something. They made it to where it's not you can't just like jump over
Yeah.
the entry anymore. And
Mhm.
basically like you jump the entry and like land halfway through the bus stop and then you just got to make it through the rest. So they made it to where you actually have to like slow down and go through it.
Yeah, because like the last couple of years, the chicane has just basically been like you lift a little bit and you go through there, but like it's not you're
Yeah.
not really slowing down that much. So
Yeah.
kind of defeats the purpose of a chicane, really. But yeah, that'll be cool. This will actually be my second time this year. I'll be up at Watkins Glen. I was up there earlier this year in the for the IMSA weekend, and yeah, it was like 95 degrees in July up there. So I'm hoping for some better weather this time around. I think.
I think it's going to be a lot cooler. I don't know what the temperature's supposed to be,
Right.
but
Yeah, I'm excited for it. So,
yeah.
um,
So we'll go through Atlanta cuz you had a I unfortunately didn't go to Atlanta, but you had a very busy weekend in Atlanta. So let's hear about it. Let's hear about the Xfinity race starting off.
yeah, the Xfinity race. We were the 35 car. Joey Gase Motorsports. Our driver is Mason Maggio. He had done several Xfinity Series races before, but mainly was a Truck Series guy. And actually, I think this was his first Xfinity race this year, if I'm not mistaken. So it was he was excited, I know, to get in the car and see what he could show. And Atlanta, the package that they brought for the Xfinity Series, man, was really disappointing. Like, it was just super strung out. It was honestly just like, I mean, I know Atlanta's an intermediate, but it has the Cup Series guys were racing at like a super speedway, and like the first 15 or 20 guys in the Xfinity race were racing at like a super speedway, but they were all single file. Um,
Yeah, I heard it was really hard to pass.
yeah, everybody just got super strung out and
Yeah.
made a bunch of different groups. Like the main group was like always about 15 to 20 guys, but especially on a long run, you would start out with like maybe 25 guys and they would just chip away. And then you get these straggler groups. You get one, a couple seconds back of like 6 or 7 cars, and then you get another one a couple seconds back. And so, it was a weird race. And it honestly seemed like sometimes our lap times were like as good as the cars in the draft. So, yeah, it was just a interesting package that they brought and an interesting race. It really got real racy towards the end, at the very end there. But yeah, so Atlanta, we talked about it earlier last week. We talked about kind of the weird pit road where it comes in on turn 3, turn 4. And then Atlanta is notorious for having a high pit road speed, but like pretty small boxes, honestly. And I forgot how small they were until I got there. Man, these things are pretty small. So
Tiny.
I know Mason he's not a every week guy. He's not a full time guy. So getting in and out of the box is something that he is like not doing on a week to week basis. But we had a little bit of a problem where he went over the line on 3 of our 4 stops. So we ended up having to back him up and kind of get him situated and stuff all throughout our boxes. Now, one of the times I'll blame it on us. It was a fuel only stop, and one of the guys who normally waves the sign was not in the box. He was doing something. We were pitted kind of at a weird time, and so we were all getting ready to do the pit stop, and then they didn't have the sign out, so he kind of flew through the box, and then we backed him up and did a fuel only stop. But yeah, I mean that one I'm not going to put on him necessarily. And then the other 2 stops we just had, we were coming around a car one time, and then the other time, it was just an open box. But even still, it's hard because when we were doing a fuel only, I think 2 of them were on fuel only stops. You're not wanting to slide your tires, which is normally what you would do on a 4 tire stop. It doesn't matter if you lock them up and slide your tires because you're going to change those anyways and not use them again. And realistically, sliding your tires and keeping the wheels like locked is the best way a driver can come in to have a good pit stop, because you can see the lug nuts, nothing's moving and stuff like that. But for a fuel only stop, you're not doing that. So he was kind of trying to not lock them up and stuff. And we're running a small, obviously at a super speedway or a pack racing track. We're running as small of brakes as we can. So, and you're not using them during the race, so they're not up to temperature or anything like that. But so a lot of different things you all have to navigate as a driver, as a pit crew, as a pit support, the behind the wall guys. So yeah, we had some issues. Like I said, 3 of the 4 stops we did, it was over the line, so we had to back him up, and we got a penalty on the first one for pitting outside of our box. But after that, we backed him up before we engaged the fuel can or jacked it up or anything like that. So
How close was it on that first penalty?
I mean, he was probably, his splitter was just on the other side of the box. Like, it was probably right at the line is like this. It's like a white line and then 2 black lines. He was like right on the far black line.
Okay, that's not bad.
So we tried to back him up, and our fueler engaged and actually disengaged, and then we pushed him back, and then he came back in. And normally, if that happens, they let you get away with it, but they didn't this time. I think because we were the only people on pit road. Honestly, we pitted at so they definitely had their eyes on us. But then the other time, one he was like on the white line, and the other he went farther forward, and he knew that, and he backed himself up the other times we were at. So for those of you who don't know, like I guess the front end of your car has to be within your pit box. It can't be extended out, and and there's a line separating the pit boxes. It can't even be on that line, so it has to be behind that. So when you're doing either a fuel only stop or a 4-tire stop or right side stop, whatever, as a front changer, your responsibility is to look and make sure that the car and the front splitter, the front nose isn't over the line or touching the line. And if it is, you have to wave and scream and yell and make sure that everybody on your pit crew and your crew chief and the driver can tell. And so they know how to back them up. Because if you start pitting that car when it's over the line, you get a penalty for pitting outside of your box. So the first time it happened, and then the second and third time, we were able to correct it and immediately and avoided any penalties. But yeah, I mean, stops were fine. 4-tire stops. We did 2 4-tire stops, and no adjustments or anything, just air pressure. The car was feeling pretty solid all race long, he was saying. So 2 4-tire stops straight up, other than having that hiccup with getting in and out of the box. It was pretty straightforward. I was a little surprised we didn't do any like 2-tire stuff, just because the tire wear, like you took the tires off after a 30-lap run and it looked like nothing. Like, I mean, it was just no tire wear. So, but we decided to just do 4 tires both times we pitted, and it worked out well for us. So we finished P18 at the end of the race.
That's respectable.
Yeah, clean car, P18. We're happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. I knew. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it because my son had a race in his quarter midget, and so I was up at the track with him on Saturday. But I like saw the highlights, and that's what I saw, was that it was exactly the way that I thought it was going to be, where the Xfinity cars spread out, single file, this pack, that pack, and that's pretty much like the way I thought it was going to go. And then for the Cup race, it was 2x2, hard to pass. Then the lead car basically just could take control of the whole race.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess we'll fast forward a little bit here to the Cup race on Sunday. I mean, unless you have anything you want to say about the Xfinity race or anything on Saturday.
No, I mean, like I said, I really didn't get to see it because I was with my son. But yeah, I mean, I knew what to expect. I I mean, I think the package that they brought to Atlanta for Xfinity was the same package that they brought to Michigan,
Mhm.
and I don't understand why they didn't look
Too,
at
I
the race
believe.
at Michigan. What's that?
And Indy, I think too.
Yeah. So I don't understand why they didn't look at the package from Michigan and be like, okay, let's do something different. Like they were just like, nah, just roll with it. And so
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I don't think that package doesn't work for whatever reason. It just makes it to where everybody gets single filed out, and your fast cars are with your fast cars, your middle of the pack cars are with your middle of the pack cars, and your slow cars are with your slow cars.
yeah.
Like that's pretty much what you get.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what people like love about pack racing is obviously the 2x2, everybody's real bunched up, you know. It's an exciting race, everybody's right there. And the Cup Series race, it was a really exciting race. It's like Talladega or Daytona, but you're going around, you're making laps way faster. So, I think that I personally am a fan of the repave at Atlanta that makes it, where you're able to go full throttle the whole time. You're able to race in packs. I think that's cool because I like pack racing. It's like a mini Daytona or Talladega. I know the drivers, some of them would disagree. I know the fans, some of them would disagree. But when it's done right, like it was in the Cup race, it was great racing, really exciting. But in the Xfinity race, that package just strung it out so much, and honestly, it looked just like a normal intermediate like Vegas or Charlotte or Texas, where you're lifting and coasting, or even breaking a little bit into the corner, and it gets real spread out there on those intermediates. So yeah, towards the end, it got double wide at like 10 laps to go or something like that. But for the vast majority of the race, it was single file, real spread out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected, especially from the Xfinity race. I expected everybody to just kind of ride in line, try to just make it to the end of the race kind of thing. Like, and then, like you said, with like 10, 20 laps to go, everybody's going to be like, okay, intensity's picking up. We got to go for the checkered now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and that's how it always is in these kind of pack racing type stuff. So yeah, the Xfinity race. I mean, for us, it worked out good. Like if you would have told the team that, hey, you got a 18th place finish with a driver who hasn't raced in Xfinity all year at a super speedway, and you came home with a clean car, we'd have been like, yeah, that's amazing. So I think everybody was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we were happy. And then, yeah, going into Sunday, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking way too much. I don't want to.
No, I mean, unfortunately, this is what it is whenever, you don't end up going to the track. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so Sunday it was we had pitted the 44 Cup Series car at Daytona, and at Daytona it was Joey Gase, and this week it was JJ Yaley. But talking to our crew chief Jay Guy, shout out to Jay, he's an awesome crew chief, really cool to work for, great communicator, like has definitely realistic expectations of the crew, of the car, of everything. He's semi-retired now, but he's been in racing for 20 years. So, anyways, our pit strategy. Talking to him before the race, our pit strategy at Atlanta was very similar to what it was going to be in at Daytona. It was going to be, four tires under caution, but if we had to pit under green flag for a long green flag run, we were going to do fuel only, and we are just going to stay in the pack. And our plan on track was just hang around in the back of the pack. Don't lose it, but get suck on that draft and just hang on. And
suck on that draft.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So I guess I was gonna should say stay sucked up to the draft, but stuck on that draft is worse. Yeah, we need to make shirts that say that.
Make some shirts, suck on that draft.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. So, anyways, we were sucking up on that draft all race. We were just hanging around in the back, um, and just waiting for our time. So, the way the race broke down, the first stage, we were good on fuel, so we just came down at the end of stage one, did a 4-tire stop, and beat 2 cars off pit road. So we gained 2 spots, and we were really we were pumped about that. We were like,
Hell yeah.
and there was like 3 or 4 cars that had penalties, so we really gained like 4, 5, 6 spots on pit road, and so everybody was happy about that. Got them back out there, and
Coming to
then
the one to go, drop to the back.
yeah, and and then the way the second stage worked out was if it ran green flag the whole time, we were going to have to stop and get about 6 seconds worth of fuel, 6 to 7 seconds worth of fuel. And all of the Chevys would have pitted together. But it just so happened that there was a really opportune caution, like 10 or 15 laps before we were supposed to come in. And so during that time, we just went ahead, took 4 tires, filled it up all the way full, and then got to the end of stage 2, where we did another 4-tire and fuel stop. And then the way we did it, we came down, and then the next lap we came down and topped it off again because we wanted to have as much fuel. We were already going to be in the back, and that was our strategy, but we wanted to have an extra lap or 2 on fuel, or if we had to all come down, we wanted to have a second or a second and a half less of fuel than everybody else. Have to fill up for a second or a second and a half less than everybody else.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Like you would think that like a second to a second and a half doesn't make a lot of difference, but that's like 10, 15 spots on pit road that you would gain.
Yeah, and I mean, especially too, like we were going to be if we had to pit under green, we would be coming down in the back of the Chevy pack. So if we had to pit an extra second longer, we could lose the draft. But knowing that we will have to do a second or a second and a half less means that we should be fine rejoining the draft off pit road.
Yeah, and that's so key whenever like, especially at a track like that, where like instead of the leader being like you're here and the leader is like 2.5 miles ahead of you, you're only like a mile and a half behind. So it's like, oh, if you lose the draft, you're screwed like the rest of the race.
Yeah. And what we talked about last week with that turn 3 and 4 entry, you're at like 90 miles an hour. And then at the timing line on where actual pit road starts, it's down to like 50, 55. Well, JJ, there was something wrong on the dash. The lights weren't working correctly or something. And he actually got 2 speeding on pit road penalties, but they were under a yellow flag, under caution. So we just went to the tail end. But we were a little worried if we had to pit under green, if how that was going to work. We were going to have to play it conservative. But luckily, after the second stage, going into the final stage, there was another opportune caution. So we never had to make a green flag stop all day. And so we took 4 tires again. I believe we made 4 stops total, 4 tire changes total. I think we did a couple fuel, like 1 fuel only and another top off. So I think we came down pit road about 6 times. But yeah, the changes were good. Everything went smooth except for one, Steven, and I'm sure you've seen this when you do single lug. So on the right front, I pulled the tire, I throw it, and I hit my button to get back on, switch my button to tighten the lug. And our jackman, his name's Tig Willard, longtime Cup Series jackman in his 9th year now. He hung the wheel for me, and I went to tighten it, and my socket wouldn't our cue as a changer is we draw lines on the socket. When you see the socket stop spinning and kind of ratchet a little bit, that's when you know it's tight. So I am pulling the trigger and it's just spinning, 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 spinning. And I this was all in real time. I see Tig point at it and say, "Keep going." And he sees it. He sees it spinning up, and he says, points at it. He's like, "Go, keep going." And so I didn't realize it on at the time, but so I was tightening, tightening. It was spinning. It was spinning. It wasn't sucking up for whatever reason, and then it stopped. I found this out after I watched the GoPro in slow motion, but it stopped, which means it got tight. And then right when it stopped, I pulled off and then I re-engaged and tightened it again. And as soon as I did, immediately it like ratcheted. So I knew it got tight. And then we went ahead and did the left side. So I mean, that was really the only hiccup that we had all race long.
Do you know what caused it to not like immediately suck up?
I really don't know. Our guess is maybe a bad drive pin or something. It wasn't engaging on the holes and the pins in the back of the wheel. Because I engaged. Sometimes what will happen is if you spin the gun, if you pull the trigger on the gun before you get on the threads of the hub, it will spin up and it won't catch. But it got past the. It felt like when that happens, normally it'll just stay on the first thread, like it won't go. But I felt it pull past the first couple of threads and was like I was up against the wheel, but I don't know, it didn't. It was weird. He was holding it and it was spinning, 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 and I kept pushing, and then it caught, and then I pulled back out and hit it again a second time, and as when it did the second time, it just ratcheted immediately. So I need to go back and watch the film more in slow mo to see, and I'll play it next week for us here on the podcast. But yeah, that was the only hiccup.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes like with all those holes in the back of the wheel, there's about 20 or 30 holes in the backside of the rim that the pins, detents, dimples, whatever you want to call them, they engage into to suck the wheel up and make it lock. And basically, before the race, changers, carriers, jackmen, they'll all go and check the holes to make sure that they're going to pass spec, that they're the right size, that there's nothing in there to like any debris or anything. And you kind of just clean them out and check them all and go through all of it. But sometimes anything could happen where something got stuck up in there. If maybe there was a burr sitting on the actual wheel, not the wheel but the pins, and it got stuck on that and it couldn't get all the way on.
Yeah.
So it could pretty much be anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I want to watch the footage. I watched it in slow mo during the race, but of course it was during the race. I couldn't really, and I watched it a little bit yesterday, but I really want to pull it up on the big screen and see what I can see and play it with the audio too. Because a lot of times the audio helps. It's like you can hear if you got it past the first couple threads and it's like grinding trying to get on, or if it's spinning like not catching the threads, you should be able to hear it on the audio. So yeah, we'll see. But tight wheel, and then that was actually the stop where like a lap or two later under caution we came down and topped off because we wanted to run as much as we could in stage 3. And Tig, our jackman, was like, "You want to check it? You want to check it?" I was like, "No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I think I'm good." So maybe I should have checked it, but I watched the video and I saw it stop twice. So I was like, good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as long as that's like we talked about it like last week or the week before about like the biggest fear is like thinking that it's loose, and it's like when something like that happens and like you watch the film and you're like, okay, it's tight, and then like you have an opportunity to come down and check it, it's like, oh, should I go over there and check it? No, I gotta trust that it's tight.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather double, triple check over my ego being hurt at all. But I think it kind of sends a bad message where it's like, well, did I get it tight? Did I not? To the owner, to the stuff. So, and plus, we only needed about 2-3 seconds of fuel anyways. So it would have slowed us down a little bit to check it. It's not like it was completely, free of any time loss. But that's why I wear my GoPro. And as soon as we get done with the stop, I always turn on my GoPro and I watch it with my carrier and my jackman. And we look. And for single lug and for 5 lug too, I'm watching to make sure the wheels sucked up, the socket stops spinning, and that everything gets tight. That's mainly what. We'll watch the footage later on to analyze where we could get a 10th here and a 10th there. But at the track, you're not doing that. At the track, you're mainly watching the GoPro to correct any major things that went wrong. Maybe you got a penalty because you missed through the tire, or you flopped it or something, or the jackman missed a hang or something. Like, yeah, we'll check that and see what happened. But mainly we're checking to make sure just everything's tight, the right tires got put on the right corner of the car. And
that never happens. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm glad both your races went super smooth on pit road.
Yeah, it was funny. So talking about right tires on the right corner, we got tires from a car that crashed out, and they had them labeled right front and right rear, but our tire guy wanted to change them around. He wanted to put the right rear on the right front and the right front on the right rear. Well, he had it they still had it labeled from the old team, like RR, but then he wrote like a F on the front of it. And we went back and watched the footage, and it was like, it said right rear on the right front. And I told our carrier, and he was like, yeah, he told me that he was switching them up. And we talked to our crew chief, and our crew chief was like, as long as the rights are on the right side, the lefts are on the left side, I don't care. I was like, 10-4.
Look, I hate that. And my biggest thing is like, when tire guys do that, I'm like, brake clean it off. Yeah. Spray some brake clean on a paper towel and wipe that stuff off and write what you want. Yeah. Do not have a whole bunch of marks on these tires, because you're only going to make it more confusing.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So anyways, that's that was it. So
yeah. I mean, that was pretty good. How did it? Oh, were you running in front of or behind Denny Hamlin the whole race?
Both kind of. We were like, the first stage we were mainly in front of him. The second stage we were kind of right behind him. But we were running with him all race.
Oh, I know you were sitting there like, oh yeah, we're beating Denny Hamlin today.
We out-qualified Denny Hamlin. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think they had like a spark plug problem for qualifying.
They had a completely fine engine that were running.
Yeah, it was only 3 seconds off the pace.
We just outran them. All things equal, we outran them. No, yeah.
Brung what you brung.
They had a plug issue, plug wire issue. So, yeah, we were running around them all day. So it was cool. Like, it was cool to run with those guys and stuff. And I mean, we were legitimately hanging on. Like, we were legitimately running with everybody else on that. In a single car, qualifying speed, yeah, we were slower, but on race pace, we were right up there with anybody else. In fact, if you I was looking at the timing screens, we ran, our fastest lap was like a top 15 lap time, or top 20.
Yeah.
So I was happy about that. The guys put in a lot of work. So it was a quick turnaround from Daytona to Atlanta, but yeah.
And where'd you guys end up?
23rd. So not bad.
Still ahead of Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, we're happy about that. Clean car.
Yeah, you didn't get involved in that last lap wreck, right?
We barely missed it. Yeah, clean
car.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We only have one chassis, so it's good. We keep that.
Now you can run it at Talladega.
Yeah, we're gonna run one more race in between there too. So.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. I'll put it this way: we're not running this week, and we're we're gonna run one more race before Talladega. So we'll leave it up to you guys. You have a 50-50 chance. So, I don't want
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
news here, but yeah.
yeah, I mean that's awesome though that you get to, you have the opportunity to go out there and run some Cup Series stops. And how competitive are your times? Do you guys think? You guys think you're like
Uh,
competitive with, you know, the teams that you should be competitive with?
yeah, I mean, really, the team that we were racing was a 78, and we beat them off pit road when we stopped together. So I felt happy about that. We gained a spot on those guys. I think our fastest stop was in the 11-second range, but again, we had a super speedway droop, so it's not going
Mhm.
to be fast. We had to double pump and just also wait for it to drop out. But that was everybody. You're not going to run your fastest stops at a super speedway. So 10 and a
Yeah,
half, 11-second stop is,
that's
is
right up there with everybody else.
yeah. You're not going to run a 9-second stop at Daytona or Talladega. I mean,
There's no point.
maybe you might, but your car probably isn't set up for a ton of speed if you are running those
Yeah.
types. Because I know we timed it, and it was at Daytona, on our practice car, it was like 1.2 seconds worth of droop, something like
Mhm.
that, for it to clear. So you just think about that. If you can, if that time, at a normal track, there's no droop. You just, as soon as you engage, you can pull it out. Instead, you're waiting at 1.2 seconds just at that time to a normal stop. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, I think we were competitive.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you guys sounded like you were right where you needed to be and put yourselves in the best position you could put yourselves in. So, on
Yep.
both aspects, Xfinity and Cup side, I think like I watched the whole Cup race and basically the one thing I didn't like was the Kyle Larson wreck where
That's scary.
yeah, Chase Briscoe, I don't know if he didn't see where Kyle Larson was or didn't hear that the caution was out, but he was moving pretty quick when he slammed
Yeah,
into the back of him.
I heard he couldn't stop. He said something about not being able to stop. But yeah, I mean that Larson hit was bad on the wall. I mean he was hit that wall like had to have been 160 miles an hour minimum, I would say.
Yeah, they
Um,
showed the in car a couple times and like I was watching it and then I saw the in car the second time and I was like, okay, I think I understand what was going on. It was kind of like he was on the bottom, but he was going so fast, the car started like creeping up the track, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to turn right to try and go around him on the right." And next thing you know, he's in the back of him.
yeah, so and Briscoe hit him and destroyed his car too. So yeah, it was tough for both those guys being in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
we'll see that. We'll
yeah.
probably
I
show.
mean, you got two more races to try and.
Yeah,
I think Kyle Larson's pretty much guaranteed as long as he has a decent race at Bristol
yeah,
and Watkins Glen. You know he's going to be fast at Watkins Glen.
yeah, yeah. So no, I agree. So, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good race. The racing was solid. We talked about it earlier. 2x2 for most of the race. Pack racing, awesome stuff. Came down to it at the end. A few big crashes. What the fans like, excitement, and ultimately at the end of the day, we had a clean car. We had a close to a top 20 finish, and we were happy with that as a team too. So move on
Heck
to.
yeah. What did you what did you think of the one caution where the Walmart sign fell off?
Oh yeah, that was wild. They were like, our spotter was like, the Walmart sign fell off. What? I was looking at it. It was on the big screen. It was. Somebody was like, they got their money's worth for advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was wild.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
but So now we get to turn left and right
And
as
right.
we move to Watkins Glen. And so what are you expecting from Watkins Glen?
I don't know. Great answer. I mean, typical road course racing. It's going to be pretty strung out towards the middle and back of the pack.
Are we having
Um,
stage breaks?
yes, we are this year. We're having stage breaks.
Okay.
And you know what? The reason I don't know is because I don't know with this field. There's so many talented drivers that there's 10 to 15 drivers I could see win the race. So I don't know how they're going to race. I don't know if they're going to race aggressive from the very beginning. I don't know if they're all going to be on top of each other. I don't know if they're going to kind of try and play the waiting game a little bit, try and save their tires, stuff like that. Because I have heard there's supposed to be a lot of tire fall off this.
Yeah, 4 seconds of tire fall off.
That's what they're saying. So I don't know if some of those guys are just going to try and hang back and save their tires and then go for it at the end, or if they're all going to be racing. Top 15 guys are going to be racing each other really hard all race long. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, going back looking at the entry list, like some of the guys that aren't in the playoffs are probably gonna try to flip the stage and get the track position, like your William Byron, your Joey Logano, your Eric Almirola. Those guys are probably going to try to flip the stage because they don't really care about the stage points.
Yeah.
So they're going to try to, you can pit up until 2 laps to go in the stage, but the leader has to be the one to take the 2 to go. So if you're if you're in first, you can pit. And if you're in second right behind him, you can pit too, as long as you guys don't cross the start finish line before you get to pit road. So it's one of the unique things about the road course racing with the stages is you can flip flop the stages to you can go for the stage points or you can go for starting up front at the next stage. But it's kind of always boiled down to the point of you're either chasing the stage points or you're chasing the win.
Exactly.
Because you can't. Unfortunately, I hate that that's the way it is, but you can't do both. You can't go for stage points in both stages and the win because it doesn't play out, and there's usually not enough time. So,
exactly.
I guess it just depends on how many guys want to flip the stage, and because if you have such a big lead and you pit, and then you come out of pit road and you're still fourth, like you're still in a good position to get points, and you're not really going to lose that much track position. So
exactly.
But yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters. So
a lot of heavy hitters. Steven, is there anything in particular that you think of when you think of pit stops or pit road at Watkins Glen, or even pit strategy? I know you talked a little bit about pit strategy, right? Like either splitting the stage, either staying out. But I mean, at Watkins Glen, that's really the only pit strategy. There's no 2 tire stops. There's no fuel only stops. It's all every time you stop, you're taking 4 tires.
Yeah, it's. I'm not going to say it puts you in a box because you do have that element of splitting the stage, but like you said, every time you come down, you're changing 4 tires because you make left turns and you make right turns and it kind of equals off on tire wear. And especially if we're going to have 4 seconds worth of tire wear, it's going to be wild.
Right.
So splitting the stage, if there's truly 4 seconds, splitting the stage might not even be an option for some guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have those extra 3 to 4 laps on your tires, you're going to be junk midway through the run. So, but I mean, Watkins Glen's pit road it's really long. It literally goes the whole length of the front stretch, and it's on a hill. So you have to it starts at the top of the hill, and then as you go down pit road, it kind of goes down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So you have to be
20 or so, it starts really kind of.
yeah, like if you're down towards like the pit exit area, you got to be real mindful about where your tires are because they want to go towards towards the end of pit road. So,
Yep, definitely.
but backwards pit stops. We don't do them enough for them to matter, but guess what? They matter.
Yep, 2 times a year they do, definitely.
So,
Um, yeah, I mean, backwards pit stops are always weird. We're used to the cars coming in counterclockwise, and this time they're coming in clockwise. So you're changing left side tires first, when normally you would change right side tires first. Kind of just throws everything off. It's weird. Like, normally how our pit stops work on the right side is your carrier's dropping off the tire in the front first, then in the back, and then he's hanging the right rear tire. And the front changer is most of the time is responsible for taking his tire back to the wall. Well, but how it works now is the carrier is dropping off the tire at the back first, and then he's hanging the left front. And the changers are just dumping the tires, so the carrier is having to take both tires back to the pit, to the wall. And the way our crew is doing it is normally the jackman will run around the front of the car, so from the right front around the front to the left side. But our jackman is going from the right side, left side around the rear of the car to the right side. So I'm going to be the only one running around the front of the car. Um, the
oh,
way
well,
we're,
lucky you.
yep,
See, we're doing it the opposite way. We're going to do it the same way we did it in Chicago, where our jackman is going to start on the left side and run around the front of the car, and the front tire changer is going to wait and let the jackman go through, and then he's going to drop down and hit his lug nuts. Just
yeah,
because with the rear tire changer, the carrier, and the fueler already being back there, like you could really screw up your pit stop if something catastrophic happens going that way. So, especially with how important the fuel is. So, we're just going to go around the front like we normally do.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about how pit strategy um, is more or less going to be the same, like 4 tires and fuel every time. Um, but one thing um, that is different on these backward stops is the choreography. So like your crew, the jackman is going around the front. My crew, the jackman is going around the rear. That kind of is, I think, the cool aspect about doing these backwards pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like you basically leave it up to the team because it's whatever's comfortable for the team. Like
Right.
your jackman may want to continue to go the same way that he normally goes, which in this case would be to the rear of the car. So the rear tire changer is going to wait, let the jackman go through, and then he's going to drop down and hit his lug nuts, and then the fueler's going to plug in, and then the carrier will hang the tire. So it's like, but on my side, like the jackman doesn't want to mess with anything going on in the back of the car, so he just wants to go around the front, which is the way that it's the way that he was taught. It's the way I was taught that you're going to change it up and go around the front. You're still going to go around the front of the car. It's just the opposite way. And the only like the biggest change in that aspect is when the jackman gets around the car, he has to flip his hips completely all the way around, basically a 180 to be able to jack the car up because he's coming at it at such a weird angle because normally he's coming around it from the backside of the car basically.
Yep. No, that's right. And yeah, I mean, when you add adjustments in too, it gets even more weird. But Watkins Glen is kind of a road course where it's really hard. Like if you make an adjustment specifically for one corner, can
You
really
ruin all
affect
the other ones.
it can really affect the yeah, exactly. So crew chiefs are kind of hesitant to make track bar or wedge adjustments uh, at um, at Watkins Glen in particular, just because of the majority. There's fast left and right hand corners. Now, like a track like the Roval or something, or like Sonoma, where you're mainly making right hand turns, and at the Roval, you're mainly making left hand turns. Like you can maybe make an adjustment to counteract one of them. But when you have fast left and right hand turns at Watkins, um, you know, it's pretty difficult to make a change just for one corner that will probably have an impact on, three or four other corners as well. So, um,
Yeah, and usually with like when we're at like a regular oval track, midway through the run or, under caution at the end of the stage, the spotter will be like, "All right, tell the crew chief about the car, give a balance update." And, the driver will come on the radio and be like, "Well, I'm tight in, I'm loose off, I'm loose in, I'm tight off, whatever. I'm loose all the way through." And, you can make an adjustment to do that or to fix that. But on a road course, they're like, "Let me get a balance update." And it's like, "Oh, my high speed lefts are pretty good. I'm a little tight on the right-handers, and it's a little too free on the low speed lefts." And it's like,
yeah,
what am I supposed to do with that?
yeah,
So it
no,
makes
I
like it
know.
just throws a wrench into everything.
No, it does. Well, talking about backward stops, I'm gonna share my screen here for a little bit. I'm gonna show you a little bit about a backward stop here. So this is my stop from Watkins Glen last year, um, and let's pull it up here. So you're able to see everything, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, here we are. So here's Watkins Glen pit stop. So let's watch this. So on this stop, our jackman goes around the front of the car, and I'm waiting. What Steven's crew is going to do? I'm waiting for the jackman to go first. Oh, and I have one more here that I'm going to show. It's our second stop at Watkins Glen. Um, but yeah, things. Let me see if I can find it here. But yeah, you can tell that everything's a little bit more awkward on a backward stop, just because we only do it 2 times a year. Um, but here's our second stop from Watkins Glen. So yeah, um, I thought that second one was a little bit more smooth. It was our second stop of the day. But oh, am I still here? There, here you go. Yeah. So you're further down on pit road. We were the first couple of stalls in.
Yeah, I'll sorry, I kind of disconnected there for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and show you guys what, it's kind of like on the rear, cuz there's so much going on when it comes to like the fueler, the carrier and the changer all being in that little right rear area. So it's like it's super, you know, it's super compact back there. So this is from last year at Watkins Glen. And we had an adjustment, so I had to take my own tire back to the wall. and it's real tight pit boxes. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I mean, we have everybody right there when it comes to me, the fueler, and the fueler, me, and the carrier all in this little area trying to get it all done. The fueler's right over here, just you can see the fuel kind of running down the car. But yeah, you get
Let's
the
go
idea.
back a little bit. Can you go back to when you pull the tire a little bit? Let's see if I can just stop it right. Keep going a little bit and stop it right there. So, for all the young fans out here who are wanting to become tire changers,
Don't do this.
don't do that.
Don't do this.
Bad. No, don't do that. Those are called hangers when lug nuts come off, or you think they come off, but they don't actually come off all. They don't come off the stud itself. They come off the threads, or at least you think they come off the threads.
I trusted it. I saw this one was kind of like dangling on the end, and I was like, I'll just if you pull hard enough, you rip it off that last thread, you're good to go.
Oh, Steven, you're keeping a bad habit. So yeah, if you're a young tire changer out there, don't do that. I'm just kidding. I pulled with 3 this year, and then they all came off.
Yeah, I was like, I had enough time to go back and hit these. Like, I'm watching it and I'm like, why didn't I go back and hit those? Because like I looked over and I'm like, just waiting, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all fun.
So,
but yeah, as you could see in both mine and John's videos, the pit boxes aren't that big. So it's very easy to get trapped on pit road, especially under caution. If guys are you got a lot of guys coming down pit road. So we got to be mindful of that. I think pit road speeds 45 miles an hour, so it's not really that fast.
yeah.
So I think that's like the average pit road speed.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, it's what the biggest thing with it being a road course is it's kind of the same as like a super speedway. Instead of losing the draft, you just don't want to lose that time on the racetrack, because Watkins Glen is, what is it, like a 2.5 mile or 2.55 mile road course. So if you have to come back down pit road for any reason, you lose. You're not going to lose a lap, but you lose a lot of time.
yeah.
So the main priority is just don't speed on pit road. Have a good pit stop. It doesn't even really have to be a fast pit stop. Well, okay, it's not going to be a fast pit stop because it's backward stops. Backward stops are not fast. So your main goal is to just go out there and get the job done. Make sure the wheels are tight. Whatever adjustments need to be made, get them in the car, so that way he can spend more time on the racetrack and less time serving penalties.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what to expect for yeah, that's Watkins Glen in a nutshell. you're either gonna split the stage, or you're gonna come down at the stage break, and yep, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, yeah, Steven, unless you have anything to say, I think we can wrap up there. But this is kind of an interesting 3 races on the schedule. We go from super speedway to road course,
short track.
Yep. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I expect Xfinity to be the best race of the weekend. Even though I think SVG is kind of going to win the race, but I hope it's our driver. We're going to give him the best chance and the best fighting chance, and I know you will too, John.
That's right.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a great race. I think the Xfinity race there is always awesome. The cars slip and slide around a lot more than the Cup cars. So yeah, I think that race is going to be great. I think the cup race is going to be really good, just because if there actually is 4 seconds of fall off, it's going to make for a very interesting race.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it all hangs on. The cup race kind of hangs in the balance of if it's actually going to be 4 seconds of tire fall off. If not, then it's going to be every other road course that we've had with this car. But yeah, so I expect the Xfinity race to be great. I expect the Cup race to be really good. And hopefully your favorite driver wins.
That's right. So yeah, Steven, we'll go ahead and we'll see you next week. And boy, next week we'll have a lot going on. We'll be doing truck and Xfinity, and I'll might be doing another race that week too. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a next week's a fun one because it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, it is.
So, racing in the middle of the week is always weird.
Yep.
But I mean, when I was pitting during COVID, I raced on every day of the week at one point. So
Yep.
it's kind of become the normal.
Yep. That's for sure. So yeah. Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad we're able to hop on. Glad we're able to get a race review and a race preview in, and looking forward to talking to you again next week, man.
Yeah. If I don't talk to you before Saturday, then I will definitely see you there. Good luck in the ARCA race. Hopefully you guys bring it home.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Looking
Yeah,
forward
you could double down for the weekend.
that would be something. Yeah.
But all right, man. I will catch everybody in the next one, and I will see you this weekend, John.
See you, buddy.
And till then, you guys be good.